All right, what's going on, everybody? Happy Friday. It is Friday, December 19th, getting very close to Christmas here. I hope everybody is getting prepared for that, excited for that. But before all that happens, we got a lot of football happening here. College football first round starts tonight and continues tomorrow on Saturday. We have my Chicago Bears in a not must win game, but a very big game. And it's a must win in terms of wanting to win the division. So we're going to be highlighting three games here on today. There are four playoff, college football playoff games this particular weekend. I am not going to highlight the Tulane Ole Miss game, nor will I highlight the JMU Oregon game. Just real quick on those games. The spreads are big. I don't expect either team to really give up much fight in terms of those games, so I don't want to spend time on those. Had they been closer spreads, have we had the top 12 teams in the country in there, those will be games we will be looking at as well. But that's not the case. So we're going to start with the game for tonight, which is Alabama traveling to Norman, Oklahoma to face off against the Oklahoma Sooners in Norman. That game's at 8 o'clock Eastern time. I'm in the Central, so 7 o'clock for me. I think it's on ABC. I'm pretty sure, yeah, pretty sure it's on ABC/ESPN. So should be pretty easy to find if you have access to those networks. So when I look at both of these teams, I look at the coaching staff first. I usually look at the coaching staff with most games, but with these two kind of story programs, if you will. Obviously, Alabama, has won a lot, especially under the Nick Saban era, but even back in the Bear Bryant days. Oklahoma has had some years here and there, but nothing of just strong consistency within the last decade or two. They have some pop-up seasons where they're competing towards the top, but hasn't really been consistently there yet, as they are a new member of the SEC, their second season in the SEC. Something to pay attention to, that this is back-to-back years. They played earlier this year, but in back-to-back years, Oklahoma has been able to take care of business against Kalen DeBoer and his Alabama Crimson Tide team. So winning the game last year in Norman, winning the game this year that was in Tuscaloosa. This Oklahoma team has a lot of confidence going into this game. And it'll be interesting to see how Kalen DeBoer has this team ready to play this particular game. Now, both of these head coaches, Kalen DeBoer was the head coach of Washington. Obviously, he got to the national championship with them a couple of years back. No, they did not win that game, but he knows how to prepare his team for these bigger games. And on the other side, Brent Venables was a defensive coordinator for Clemson during their kind of run where they were considered more of a powerhouse. Obviously, they've had some setback years here the last, couple of seasons, 4 or 5 years here where they just kind of lost some of that identity. Maybe some people say they're just not keeping up with the times, transfer portal, all of those type of things. But nonetheless, Brent Venables is a guy who knows how to coach defense. And speaking of defense, that's one of the keys. I kind of want to go through some keys here for both teams to win. I'll start with Alabama being a road team. First and foremost, they got to protect the quarterback. They can't have a repeat performance of the game they had at Tuscaloosa where Ty Simpson was sacked 4 times, and that was without the top pass rusher, R. Mason Taylor, for Oklahoma. He was out that particular game, but he is back for this game. So protecting the quarterback. Number 2, hit your explosive. Ryan Williams is on this team. A very explosive receiver. You're going to want to get the ball into his hand early and often and try to generate some big chunk plays for your offense. And again, not just the negative plays for the sacks, but also in the run game. Alabama hasn't been super efficient running the ball. I think they ran it 30-plus times in the previous meeting against this team, and they did not. They weren't very effective at doing it, under 3 yards per carry. So being efficient and avoiding the negative plays in both the run game and pass game will be key. But ultimately, if they can keep this game close and have a shot in the fourth quarter, I think that's a recipe for success for Alabama to come out on top of this game. This spread is kind of flipped around. Alabama was a 1.5 point favorite a few days ago. I looked last night; they were a 1.5 point underdog. So the line moved about 3 points from what I saw, um, and that's interesting when you look at where people are putting their money at on this game and what they think the outcome is going to be. Looking at the Oklahoma side, the same thing. Get pressure early and often on the quarterback. This is the nation's best pass rush. Their defensive line is going to get after that Alabama offensive line. And how will that offensive line handle the crowd? All the different elements that are going to go into what's happening for this game. The school canceled classes like a week ago, so people are down there drinking and hanging out all day, enjoying themselves. So they'll be riled up and ready to go for this particular game. I did mention already R. Mason Thomas is back for this game, so boost for that Oklahoma defensive front. Win the field position battle also. Oklahoma's offense hasn't been the best since that John Mateer injury. I feel like earlier in the season they were more effective. Maybe that was the opponents as they've played a lot more SEC games, so tougher games, tougher defenses, all of those type of things. But win the field position game and force turnovers. They did have the pick six in that game earlier in the season that helped generate some offense, but the offense just really didn't help them out in that first meeting in Tuscaloosa. Alabama almost doubled them up in yardage. Alabama was just over 400 yards total on that game, and Oklahoma was just over 200 yards. So basically doubled them up. But when you get pressure, you get turnovers, you can still control the game, and that's what they're going to have to do, is let their defense control tempo in this game. So ultimately, it's really tough to say. I don't really have a pick in this game, but my lean is Oklahoma at home. I just think with the crowd, with that defensive front, and what they'll be able to do in limiting what Alabama wants to do, my lean in this game is Oklahoma. Obviously, the spread at 1.5, lets you know that Vegas is thinking pretty high, thinking that these two teams are pretty evenly matched in the environment. Obviously, this game, like I stated earlier, is at Oklahoma. So a game I will be watching. I do have to work later, but a game I will be trying to get my eyeballs on and watch. I'll be watching more the second half than the first half, but I'll try to catch some early plays in this in terms of what's going to be happening. Going on to another game here on Saturday at noon, early kickoff here. So college football is really smart in terms of how they kind of schedule these games. Obviously, some of the games the games that are later in the day are the games that have the larger spread. But the NFL, I think they have the Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington Commanders kicking off late afternoon, early evening. So they do a good job of making sure that the marquee matchup on this particular day, with the NFL having two games in the evening, early in the day. So, it sucks for certain aspects, but at the same time, it is what it is. Ultimately, it's all about money and viewership. So a full day of football, for me, I enjoy it because I will have my eyes locked in on that last game we'll talk about here. But Miami versus Texas. So when I look at both of these teams, I look at teams that you probably wouldn't think that, hey, either one of these teams probably is really going to realistically win the national championship. I disagree. I think this Miami team, just based on how they're built up front, offensive line, defensive line, they're really good on both sides, and that's the same for Texas A&M. So it's really a strength-on-strength type of game here. When I look at the keys for Miami being a road team here, 3.5-point underdog, how do they hold up against this A&M pass rush, which is another top pass rush in the country here? And if you notice a trend with a lot of these teams that are in the playoffs, they have guys that can get after the quarterback. And that's important because it stalls drives. You get a sack, a stall a drive. It's putting the team behind the chains. It limits their playbook of what they're going to call on a, 2nd and 12, 3rd and 17. They don't have a ton of plays that they feel comfortable with calling in those situations. So, how does this Miami O line hold up against that A&M pass rush? Play clean, no sacks, no turnovers. Carson Beck has been in some big games. Obviously, was with Georgia. So, as good as Georgia's been the last couple of years, he has experience in these big moments. And I think that may be a deciding factor in this game. Let the defense dictate the pace. So, by you being at home, by you being on the road, over 100,000 field, another one of the top, maybe the top place to go and play for opposing teams in terms of like crowd noise, the energy that they just bring at Kyle Field is, from what I hear, unmatched. Obviously, I have not been there, but it's definitely a place that at some point down the line I wouldn't mind visiting, especially for one of these, massive games that they will host. But when you do have the ball on offense, you have to finish drives. So I think Miami will be able to move the ball on this defense, but when they get in that red area, are they settling for field goals or are they punching it in for 6? So ultimately finishing drives, letting their defense dictate the pace, as well as how do they hold up against this pass rush. I think those are some of the things you'll be looking at from that Miami side to see, are they in this game? Are they winning this game? And ultimately, will they win this game? Texas A&M pressure the QB consistently, so same thing, just the opposite side. They need to pressure the quarterback because if Carson Beck has the time, he has a ton of weapons that he'll be able to distribute the ball to. And they have to let the crowd impact this game. So when they're on defense, the crowd will be noisy. Carson Beck is a veteran quarterback, so they probably have him playing under center a little more than maybe somebody that wouldn't be as experienced. Miami does run, well, traditionally they had run more of a pro style offense. So in the pros, you see guys more under center, not as much out of shotgun. I think they will struggle in shotgun in this game if they have to go to that, just because they'll have to use the silent count to get the ball snapped. So another key for Texas A&M here is to start fast. After the loss last week to Texas, they spoiled their undefeated season, but I think it exposed some things as well. So if you're Texas A&M, you want to come into this game, you want to get started early, and one of the ways you can do that is getting KC Concepcion the ball early and often. This is a guy that they use in punt return, kick return. They'll give him some sweeps, some reverses. His main position is a receiver, so obviously they'll get him the ball on some different kind of routes to just get this guy in space and to let him go. Because once he gets the ball in his hands, if he has even a little crease, he's a guy that can take it to the house. So getting your playmaker involved early will be key for them. The quarterback for Texas A&M, Marcel Reed, is a dual threat guy. So Miami's defensive front will have to play contained and play disciplined. Otherwise, he's another element that they can have in terms of moving the chains when, maybe you got all these guys covered, a man-to-man, all of these guys' backs are to the quarterback, and he's a guy that can gain, big chunk plays if you're not careful there. So look, when I look at this game, Miami being a 3.5-point underdog, I like them to cover that. I actually like them to particularly go in there and win this game. I just think how they're built for like games like this. Good on the offensive line, good on the defensive line. The only thing that worries me in the past that Mario Cristobal has kind of made some interesting calls that I particularly, wouldn't make. I'm not a college football coach. He is, so, he trusts his decision making in those moments. Ultimately, if they can make the right decisions in some of those key moments, whether it's going for it on fourth down, things of that nature, timeout management, game management. I like Miami to go in here and at the least cover this 3.5-point spread, but I think they're alive to go in there and win a game like this because when you sign a veteran quarterback like Carson Beck, although I don't think he's going to be a guy that, makes it to the NFL and is, a franchise-type quarterback, I think at the college level, in these type of games, being in big games, he knows what to do to be telling these guys. And in terms of winning. So ultimately, give me Miami to cover and win in this game, as I like them to advance and play Ohio State, my Ohio State Buckeyes, in the second round. Last but not least, and like I said, I'm not going to mention the. I don't want to go over the Tulane Ole Miss game. Although Lane Kiffin left, the players are still on the field. I think that they get the job done. Now going into that second round, I think that game will be Georgia. Let me just double check here. Bear with me. Bear with me. Bear with me. I'm pretty sure that college football playoff bracket. So yeah, James Madison, Oregon. I expect them to win that, so they'll get Texas Tech in that second round. Oklahoma, Alabama winner will get to face Indiana. And yeah, so I was right with the Texas A&M and Miami. I knew they were playing Ohio State. So yeah, that leaves Ole Miss. If they win, they'll be playing Georgia. So that would be a rematch for earlier in the year. So I think that'll be the real test in terms of the Lane Kiffin effect, in terms of him leaving, and how that ultimately will affect this team overall. Look, going to the NFL here, we got my Chicago Bears with the Green Bay Packers coming into town on Saturday night. Crazy day in terms of, excuse me, the day of the week. I like that it's I like that it's a night game, and I like that I kind of like that it's on a Saturday, because you just kind of get to sit back and watch the rest of the weekend, regardless of the outcome for depending on which side you want to win here. Obviously, I'm in Chicago, lifelong Bears fan, and we have a massive opportunity here. I've heard a lot about the injuries in this particular game from both sides. Not really complaining. I wouldn't call it that, but you know, you could kind of hear some of the, well, you know, this guy's out, that guy. All teams at this point of the year have injuries, and I don't think it's something you can lean on, because that's expected in football. If you don't expect guys to be hurt, even though they're playing, a lot of these guys are banged up. They're just gutting through it. You know, they're getting shot up with whatever. Who knows? Ultimately, to go out there and compete, because not everybody, but a lot of these guys make a lot of money, and it's something that, you know, they take pride in. This is their job. This is their livelihood, and the best ability is availability. If you're not available, that could be a detriment to your team, depending on, you know, the type of injury, how often you're injured, all of those type of things. So more so to the game here. So when I look at this game, I mentioned before that I felt pretty good coming out of the game at Lambeau Field just 13 days ago, about the way the team looked coming into these last 3 games of the season. I was actually telling a coworker who is a Packers fan, I feel pretty good going into all of these last 3 games. Now, obviously, I would like to get our top receivers back. Roma Dunze and Luther Burden are both out for this particular game. But just like any other unit with this Bears teams this year, we've had linebackers out, DBs out most of the year. Left tackle has been an interesting spot. But we've had guys step in and fill in those spots and play really good football, because this coaching staff has this team believing and preparing as if they are the guys, right? And I don't know how many teams around the league are doing that, but this particular coaching staff are playing and training the backups are as if they're starters. And if they're not doing what they need to be doing, ultimately, I don't think there'll be players on this team going forward. And with the team performing how they are, at 10 wins already, doubling last season's total, they have a lot of belief. You can see it, you can feel it. And that's what I expect from them this coming Saturday. I expect the team, you know, whatever receivers are lining up, that they execute. You know, obviously you got the tight ends. You're probably looking at a lot more 12 personnel, 2 tight ends, 1 running back, instead of more like 3 receiver sets. So probably seeing a lot more big guy type of formations. But ultimately, I think they run the ball a lot in this game anyway. We're in Chicago, so we're not in the dome. The elements are a factor. It didn't affect them actually in that game against the Browns when it was really, really, really cold. Caleb had a pretty good day passing. So, but ultimately, when I go, I'll start with the Green Bay side. So for Green Bay to win this game, how do they generate pressure without Micah Parsons? Obviously, this is his first year there, but this is a team that be successful on that side of the ball. Um, they have guys, Rashawn Gary, Lucas Van Ness. They have some guys that can get after the passer, but it's nothing that like Micah Parsons is going to bring. So how do they generate pressure? Taking care of the football. Jordan Love did throw an early interception in that game a couple of weeks ago. Really didn't affect them as he bounced back and had three passing touchdowns in that game, I think. So really didn't affect them, but ultimately they need to take care of the football, interceptions, fumble, all of those type of things. They are 4-0 in the division, and they'll be looking to stay perfect here. But they're going to lean on their experience in winning these games. It hasn't been much of a rivalry the last, I don't know, decade or two in terms of the Bears being competitive in this thing. But as a fan, it's easy to say, I'll be biased. I just think that's going to turn. We won 2 games, or excuse me, we won a game. We split with them last year, last game of the season. And I think we're going to split with them this year. I said that prior to the game 13 days ago, and I still believe that to today. Going to the Bears side of things here, first and foremost, just like I said with the Green Bay side, you got to protect the quarterback. Offensive line has done a really good job with zone blocking scheme, with the run schemes that Ben Johnson has been trying to run or has been running. And they've been pretty good in the protection as well. Obviously, only like a third of the total sacks that he had last year. So a lot of buy-in, a lot of understanding of what this coaching staff is asking for him. I mentioned the left tackle position. The rookie we brought in that was a right tackle in college, was pushed way down on the depth chart at left tackle early in the season. Obviously, Darnell Wright has been playing awesome at right tackle. He wasn't getting that spot, but once Braxton Jones went down, they put Theo Benedict in there. Theo Benedict did have an injury a few weeks back, and he missed the game, and they put Trapillo in there, and he hasn't looked back since. So this team has consistently shown that they are ready, whoever the backups are, even the backups to the backup. Guys have come in and filled in very well this year. And I don't want to start naming individual people and individual units, but if you know, you know. Forced turnovers. So we're the league's best in terms of turnovers. We're plus 20 in turnover differential. So I'm not even sure what the next closest team is, but really high in that category. We take the ball away and we don't turn it over. So in terms of this game, we got to take it away. We got to turn them over. And Caleb, running backs, receivers, we can't turn it over. No fumbles, no interceptions. Primetime game at home, probably the biggest game in this city, in this stadium, since the Eagles, the double doink game. And previous to that, we're probably looking at the NFC Championship game that the Packers beat us in when, we had the ability to win in the regular season, and we didn't do that. So massive game here with massive implications for the postseason, for the division, everything. And the last thing, finish late. They've done it all year. This is your home. I expect them to be able to control the game with the run game. If we have the opportunity late again like we did in the Green Bay game, I think ultimately we finish it. But I just feel a different type of mindset with this team. I don't think they'll be looking to just kind of keep it close. I think they'll be coming in looking to dominate. And I hope that's the type of performance they come out with. Obviously, I'm picking the Bears here as a Bears fan. I have a ton of respect for Green Bay and their organization and what they've done for a lot of years. But the Bears have kind of turned the tide in terms of the type of organization they're going to be going forward in terms of on-the-field product. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff that came out this week with the stadium stuff. I'm not going to get into that. That's politics. I don't really care about that. We're in the middle of a playoff push, and that's what we should be focused on. That's what I'm focused on as a fan, and that's what Ben Johnson has his team focused on. So, um, in terms of on the field product, the Bears are um, surprising a lot of people. And I think if you look at the quarterback, you look at the offensive line, you look at what Dennis Allen is doing with this defense, with the pieces he has, because we have not really invested in on that side of the ball like we probably should have. But I think that'll be coming up here in the draft, especially this year, but probably even the next 2 years. Um, I'm excited for this game, man. If you can't tell, very, very, very excited for this game. We'll be having some people over to kind of watch the game and uh, as well as celebrate something else, on a personal side of life. But really excited for this game. I can't wait. The bars will be jumping. The stadium will be jumping. Really exciting time for football this weekend, man. I'm gonna wrap it up here. As you know, we can go on and on. A ton of games this weekend. I'll kind of highlight real quick some other games that I'll be looking at. Obviously, the Bears are playing Saturday, so we have Buffalo at Cleveland. So no, not really there. The Chargers at Dallas will probably be a big, pretty good game to watch in that early window. That game will be on Fox. Tampa Bay, Carolina for the NFC South. Not saying it's going to be a sexy game, but 45.5 point total. Looking to have some points there. Tampa Bay is a 3-point favorite there. Jacksonville at Denver. So looking more in that late window now. 3:05 kick. Both of these teams, playoff teams. Jacksonville's been flying under the radar. Pretty good defense, pretty good run defense. Denver obviously just beat Green Bay this past week. Denver's a 3.5 point favorite, 47.5 point total there. So definitely expecting some points there. And New England at Baltimore. So the night game. New England had the good start to the year. A lot of people talked about their schedule as they did with the Chicago Bears. You play who you play, man. I still think this is a pretty good football team. Baltimore is a 3-point favorite at home. Baltimore is scrapping here. This is not a team I actually want to see here late in the season just because they have to win out to basically get that division win, with the Steelers already beating them a couple of weeks ago. So Baltimore, let's see what they can do here. Like I said, 3-point favorite, 48.5 point total. So those are kind of the games I'll be looking at on Sunday. So in the early window, I'll be locked in on that Tampa Bay Carolina game for the NFC South. And I'll also probably be looking at that Chargers and Cowboys game. And in that late window, Jacksonville at Denver. Oh no, I forgot about the Pittsburgh Steelers at Detroit. So locked in on that game as well. So Pittsburgh at Detroit. Sorry, I skipped over that one. Lions a 7-point favorite. I do think they probably dominate here, but it would be very good for the Bears if they lose, especially with the Bears win. That would lock us into a playoff spot. So we'll have more stuff going forward. Live streaming is just kind of the way I'm going to try to start doing these instead of just recording videos and putting them up. It just depends on everything that's happening here. So thank you guys for watching, sticking with me. Trying to grow the channel. I'm getting used to all of this stuff in terms of the technology, how everything works, streaming, recording the videos, editing, all of this stuff. So thank you guys for your patience. Thank you guys for your support, and I'm gonna leave it there. Enjoy all the football this weekend, and we'll see you when we see you. Probably Sunday night. React to some of this stuff. But yeah, that's probably what I'll look at. Sunday night, probably be going live again to react to everything that's happening. Bears get a big win. Who knows? I might jump on and do something tomorrow. So enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your holidays. If you don't see anything,